and gentlemen, John David Kent.
Heart was good, but she cussed a lot. She was her daddy's favorite son, and she fit the part. When she said, give me a dip of that Copenhagen, I ain't let it like 'cause it's overrated. Well, my girl, mom's in on my side, sits in the middle, comes unwound when she hears Cherokee fiddle. She's got more mud on her boots and all of them frat boy cowboys do, and that says a lot. Got a 12-pack of Lone Star beer. Head down to the Cowboy Club to see old Prince Scribner. And then she says, give me a dip of that Copenhagen, I ain't lady like 'cause it's overrated. My girl, mom's in on my side, sits in the middle, comes around when she hears Cherokee fiddle. She's got more mud on her boots and all of them frat boy cowboys do, and that says a lot. Texas girl with small town pride. She's got a homemade tattoo that says, Daddy tried. And then she says, give me a dip of that Copenhagen, I ain't let it like 'cause it's overrated. My girl, mom's in on my side, sits in the middle, comes unwound when she hears Cherokee fiddle. She's got more mud on her boots and all of them frat boy cowboys do. Yeah, my girl, she climbs in on my side, sits in the middle, comes unwound when she hears Cherokee fiddle. Got more mud on her boots and all of them frat boy cowboys do, and that says a lot. Yeah, that says a lot. Yeah, that says a lot.
Hi, I'm Scott Cowan. This is Heart of Greenville Music. Today's guest, John David Kent. John, how are you, brother?
Hey, brother.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How you been?
Good. How about yourself?
Been doing well. I know you've been very, very busy lately.
And so have you.
Well, yeah, opened a music store and
Yep.
stuff. Yeah, that's been fun.
That's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's been 7 years.
Yeah.
Actually. So, and one thing I notice every time I get an email, you guys are just smoking hot right now lately. The whole John David Kent, the Dumb Angels thing is just taking off like a rocket.
Yeah, it's man, we've been just so fortunate to have the support of KHY, the Range, 95.3. and the local radio station 93.5. I get those mixed up all the time.
I do the same.
And Jim Patrick, man, he's always been so good about supporting local artists.
Yeah.
Yourself and Leanne Rhymes and Miranda Lambert, and you know, I know he added our single on that station as well, and just having those FM outlets like that have we've really been able to reach a whole another audience that we wouldn't have just kind of doing you know, online things or just playing live shows. I mean, that sort of, you know, we got our foot in the door by having those opportunities, and people really seem to be taken to the band and taken to the song, and it seems to really translate. You know, the song's called My Girl,
yeah.
which is kind of about this, I guess, tomboy, for lack of better words. And, you know, it really seems to kind of connect and translate to a lot of girls that I knew, which would, you know, inspired the song. And, you know, just a lot of girls, you know, down south that like to be very independent, but like a man also at the same time.
That like Copenhagen?
That like, well, you know,
lines in the song.
I know some that like Copenhagen.
Me too.
So yeah, man, you just feel really blessed. You know, we've been a band for about a year, in 2 or 3 months, and just in that short amount of time, we've been able to make a video, and it's on CMT now.
CMT Pure, right?
CMT Pure, and it's just now getting added to CMT.com, where people can go on and vote for the video. I don't have the link yet, but it'll be on our website, and MySpace, and Facebook, and Twitter, and all that good online stuff very soon.
What do you mean vote? So in other words,
well, it's part of a top 12 countdown, so to speak. And every week, the video will be a part of this batch of songs, and people can log on and vote, hopefully for our video.
Yeah.
You know, and then with consistent numbers and consistent requests, it will then be added to the regular CMT rotation. And the reason it's so hard to get on CMT now is just because they only play 5 hours of music, which it might sound like a lot, but when you consider, you know, commercial breaks and all that kind of stuff, 5 hours out of 24 hours a day, which 5 hours is even less with commercial breaks, it's just not, you know, everybody's sort of fighting for that top spot, you know, or those top spots.
Right.
I would say it's, you know, 40 videos or less.
Yeah.
And, you know, you and I could probably name, you know, 20 or 30 top artists, you know.
Yeah, that would already be on there. Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you get enough votes on the CMT Pure, then they'll put you on regular CMT. Are they going to take you off Pure, or will you stay there?
No, because the CMT Pure is just, it's like MTV too. It's just an additional outlet for them to play
new
music
artists?
videos and new artists. But I mean, you know, your Alan Jacksons, and I mean, your very big established artists are on CMT Pure also. It's just you know, they created another channel so they could play music videos, because their regular station is so full of
Dukes of Hazzard.
You know,
ridiculous.
TV shows, reality TV, you know, movies on the weekends. So that's why they only have that 5 hour window now of to play videos.
Wow.
So, you know, yeah, it's on the CMT Pure thing now, and you know, that's a huge feather in our cap, we feel like. And
also, you guys did real well with the Shinerbach Song of the Month, or so.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, you know, the range. Josh Jones is the general manager, and Brett Dillon's the I guess mid-morning, mid-afternoon. He's from 10 to 4 on KHY, and really those guys kind of really got behind us and really rallied around us a few months ago, and the rest of the staff is you know, been there as well to really support us. And they do a top 10 most requested songs of the week. That's, I guess, sponsored by Shiner Beer. And, you know, we've been in the top. I mean, we have one of the most requested songs of the year on that station.
Wow, congratulations.
And I appreciate it,
That's
man.
cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool. You know, a lot
a lot of artists have been really fortunate to get their start on that station, just because I think they've been on the air for about 12 years, and that's a long time for a station that plays alternative music.
That's very true.
And you know, when Josh created the station, he really opened up a lot of opportunities for artists that would never get radio play before that, you know, local and regional and even national, you know, in terms of alternative country, Texas country, Americana. That's kind of their playlist, you know. They have you know, more of a open format than just Texas country. And you know, we hounded him for a few weeks to listen to the EP, because that's what we're out supporting. We have a 5-song EP, My Girl being the first track on the EP. And I was working with a guy, Clint Scribner, that really was very instrumental in kind of getting this band going. You know, I was doing Blackland Records and doing the recording studio, and just wasn't really... just didn't feel like I was very inspired to have another band, knowing what all goes with that and how much work it is. And you know, I was kind of sitting around the studio, around the campfire, just playing some of these tunes that I'd been working on, kind of like I've done with you and you've done with me. And
oh yeah, I remember the night you wrote My Girl. I came in to do something, I think playing on Matt Coger's record or something, and I get there, you're like, dude, check out this song, and you're playing My Girl. And now it's a DVD or a video rather, and it's on the radio. That's really cool.
And yeah, that's kind of how it happened, you know, sitting around the studio. And Clint, you know, he heard these tunes, and he really encouraged me to kind of get back out there. And so I put together the best guys that I felt like could kind of represent this, you know, this thing that I was kind of going for. And Clint got it to Josh, and you know, sort of hounded him for a few weeks. Hey man, have you listened to it yet? Have you listened to it yet? And you know, he finally listened to it, and I thought, I mean, he loved it. You know, I think he would say the same thing. You know, he really loved it and thought it would do really well, and put it in rotation. And you know, the rest of the staff was, you know, really supportive. And then, you know, our fans, you know, who are really the most important part of the business when you think about it. Yeah. They really got behind it, and they were really good to call in and request it, and still do, you know, and that's why it's one of the most requested songs of the year.
That's really cool.
We've developed a lot of new fans, you know, from having it on the radio, that just heard it and liked it and had some sort of connection with them. Yeah. And here we are.
And well, yeah, and a minute ago you said the studio, and just in case you don't know, John Kent has a recording studio in Celeste, Texas called the Vault Studio.
Correct.
I've recorded there. A lot of people.
Yeah.
Matt Coger. I mean, the list is huge.
Right.
It could take hours, but great facility, laid back atmosphere. I mean, it's just a wonderful. Can you want to tell us a little bit about
I mean, that it just, you know, I like just like most artists, you know, you want to kind of have a space that's very natural, where you can kind of go in and feel the creative vibe. And so I guess most of my influences, whatever it is, it's you know, from the days of old, you know, vintage, if you will. You know, most of my gear is vintage, and most of the bands that I like are vintage. And so my parents had this building a few years ago that they were storing furniture in. It was an old downtown building. It was a state bank. It was a state bank building in downtown Celeste, Texas, that folded during the Depression. And it was built in the late 1800s, so the building's over 100 years old. And I bought this recording gear because I got really interested in sort of the recording side of things during the making of the second album that Radish did, a band that Bink Weller and I had.
In case you don't know, John was in the band Radish.
Right, and we can go off onto that too. But anyway, we did this record in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, old school studio right on the Mississippi River. Aretha Franklin, the Stones, Ray Charles, Leonard Skinner. I mean, it was just like a real happening place, you know, in the late 60s, early 70s. And that's where we did this record, and I really just, we were out there for 6 weeks, and I really just got so just eat up with the recording side of things. It just sort of, the bug had bit me, if you will. And came home and just started collecting gear, microphones, amplifiers, guitars, drums, bass, and then with each time I would sort of upgrade my recording software. I got the cheapest 4-track recorder that I could find to just kind of start, and then felt like, okay, now I'm ready to kind of move on from that. And Ben had this 8-track recorder, and we had a rehearsal space / studio here in Greenville, and just spent months and months with that piece of gear, recording local bands and that kind of thing. And then I came across this this old MCI big console and 2-inch tape machine, and that was really where I was headed. Kind of in the analog world, the vintage gear, like I was talking about.
Yeah, it's just warmer.
Yeah, it is. And so I got this gear, man, and it's as big as a pickup truck, and I had no idea where to put it. And Ben had moved up north, and we didn't have our place here in town anymore. And so my parents had this building, in Celeste, where they were storing their furniture while they were building a house, and they were getting ready to move out. And my dad said that I could have the building if I wanted to, but it was just kind of this old building, But I went inside, I started kind of looking around, and at the back of the building is the original vault from the bank, when it was a bank,
Right.
in the like the early 30s. And I was like, man, this is perfect, because this is exactly what all the studios that I've done the research on, like Motown, and so many of those studios back in that era, they had these big concrete rooms that they used as reverb chambers before they had outboard gear and man-made, effects. So I was like, this is perfect. This is everything that I need and want. So we got in there, we did all the renovations ourselves, and now it's a commercial recording
Full-on
studio.
recording studio.
With an old school echo chamber in there, which is where we got the name The Vault.
Right.
And
Well, did y'all cut My Girl there?
yeah, we cut My Girl. We cut all the songs on the EP, and some new songs that we've been working on. We cut there, and it's a great place. It feels like home. And just going back to what I was saying, it's got just sort of this atmosphere that I think, and I feel like if I talk to a lot of the other artists, they would say the same thing. It just sort of has this innate quality that sort of just brings out the the creativeness of artists, which is the kind of atmosphere you want to be in. You don't want to be in a sort of cut and dry 9 to 5
No.
sort of atmosphere. You need a place you can sort of hang your hat and get what you need done, and
Well, yeah,
and
and
then
I was always
get on down the road.
Yeah, and I was always very comfortable there when I was recording there.
Yeah, man, those are 2 of the best tracks that I've ever recorded. Your songs, man.
Definitely the best 2 I ever did. All right, I got to know one thing. How did you come across the name The Dumb Angels? That's something that I've always kind of gone,
Right.
okay, John David Kent and The Dumb Angels, where did that come from?
Right. Well, my father was and is a big Beach Boys fan, and kind of growing up in the '60s, you were sort of a Beach Boys fan or a Beatles fan. I mean, you generally liked both, but you were sort of one or the other, And my father, gravitated towards the Beach Boys, and I think it was more of like the harmonies and the arrangements and the vocal arrangements, more so than like, these surfing tunes or whatever, because they were kind of watered down surfing tunes. But the real substance of the band is the vocal arrangements, and the songs are great.
Yeah.
But anyway, Brian Wilson's sort of the genius of the band, the songwriter.
Right.
He had 2 brothers, Dennis Wilson and Carl Wilson, him being the oldest of the 3 brothers. And his brother Dennis was the drummer in the band, sort of the drummer by default, because he was the only surfer, and he liked girls and hot rods, and liked to get in trouble, so here's this middle brother that is the drummer by default, and everyone's sort of written off as having any talent. But in his later years, you know, he put out the first Beach Boys solo album and had, you know, just this huge underground critical acclaim because it's a fantastic record. But you know, the thing that he struggled with was just his substance abuse. You know, he was one of the most giving people, if not the most giving person in the band. You know, that would always sort of be the kind of guy that would take his shirt off his back to give it to anybody, you know. And but you know, he had a short life because he just, his substance abuse, he couldn't really just ever just shake, you know. And me being a drummer first and growing up on the Beach Boys, I just sort of always related to this guy, you know. And the older I got, you know, the more I just loved him as just sort of a pop icon, the way people love James Dean or anybody, or Elvis Presley, somebody like that, that's beyond their contribution as an artist. They sort of have this like iconic pop sense about them. Yeah. And Dennis being the only surfer, he sort of possessed that in the Beach Boys. And Brian's pet name for him growing up and all throughout his life was Dumb Angel. He referred to him as the Dumb Angel because, you know, he just was the most generous person, but he had these
dumb things.
Problems. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to sort of pay homage to him as a human being and what he's done for me, you know, as an artist and as a person. And but I think that like his example really rings true to a lot of musicians. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you could attest to that. I mean, some of the best people I know, you know, are people I've met in this business, you know, artists, musicians, singer-songwriters. But there's so many people that just never get to the point that they should or die young, or however you want to put it, because they have these other issues that get in the way.
Or they fizzle out because of one thing or another.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So that's kind of where it came from, you know. It's just all those things, you know. It's kind of a reminder of what not to be.
And don't be a dumb angel.
Yeah.
Sort of like Matt. Well, good. Well, there you have it. I've been wanting to know that for a long time.
I took the long road on that one, but you know, it deserves an in-depth description of kind of where it came from. So,
well, thank you for that.
That's where it came from.
John David Kent, folks.